Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is the founder of That Oregon Life, Tyler Wilford. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat. It's good seeing you again, brother.
Yeah, man, this is really cool. You were one of my very first guests. I think you were my second guest, which is really cool. We did that one in person because we could actually be within 6 feet of each other back in those days.
The good old days.
which was, the back in the day.
We didn't know how good we had it.
We didn't know how good we had it. So thanks for doing this. We've got a lot of stuff to go over today. What That Oregon Life is for anyone that's not familiar. We're going to talk about how the business, an online business, how it kind of evolves during the shutdown and ways that goes about. Before we get too deep into it, for anybody that's unfamiliar, why don't you tell us what That Oregon Life is?
Well, someone's phone's going off. That Oregon Life was really just a passion project. It was a random idea when I got started, and the name literally just popped in my head one day. That Oregon Life. I had this idea. I want to make a badass Oregon website. As you know, I'm very passionate about our home. I love Oregon. It's where I grew up. I feel that it's a very unique state, and feel very blessed to live here and call this place my home. I think a lot of people would agree that it's definitely a couple notches up above a lot of states in the U.S. and a wonderful place to live. And so when I started it, I was kind of trying to, break out the norm. I was kind of tired of working the regular 9 to 5. I was mostly in sales at the time. I was, worked at Verizon for a long time. I sold cars, even hated it. I just knew in my heart it just wasn't for me. And I was always good with technology. I mean, I was tearing apart computers when I was a kid. And my grandfather, in fact, he passed shortly after 9/11. I owe him quite a bit for kind of cracking my mind wide open to all kinds of endless possibilities in this world. And computers and technology just, is kind of a natural thing for me as a kid. And around 2013 or 14, I launched That Oregon Life on Facebook. And at the time it was, tongue in cheek, just all the funny quirks in Oregon, making fun of people. And, just my personality definitely coming out throughout the page. And, it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but, the people that got it, loved it. And
it's been really cool to watch it evolve, because like you said, you'd started with, we've talked about this before, and we talked about this on the first episode that you were on, that it started with just kind of this mindset. You were going to make some memes and just have fun with it, and then blew up. I mean, and so what came first, the website or the Facebook page?
Well, that's funny you mention it, because I kind of did things backwards than you traditionally do. In fact, I'd had a website before that. And of course the website came first. And then I was like, well, at the time social media started getting big. Let's rewind to like 2012, 11. And social media was really at that pivotal moment when Facebook started introducing like business pages and whatnot. So I didn't really have a lot of success in the social media side of things with my website at the time, although there was, I guess, somewhat of a presence on there. And I had abandoned that project before That Oregon Life. And so when I thought of That Oregon Life, I actually made the Facebook page first, which got the following. And naturally, as I knew, well, it's like, well, Facebook's great, but I need to get people on my site too. And I'm a writer. So I already knew how to do that based on prior experience in my first blog. And, it literally started with, because I wanted to make money on the internet. I want to take care of my kids and my family, make something that was self-sufficient, that I didn't have to rely on.
And to be your own boss and all that.
Exactly.
Stuff.
So, and I want to make clear that to anybody who's listening, if you want to make money, say on the internet, like I do, it's really, you got to put your heart's got to be in it, because that will show. And if you're not passionate about it, people will quickly see that through that. And it just won't unfold the way you want. It's not about the money. I wasn't making any money when I started this. For a long time, I wasn't making I was working 2 jobs at the time.
Right.
It was, I was trying to figure things out, sort through it, maneuver. And so it was a passion project, again, on the side while I worked. So it wasn't always a livable income. It took a long time to get there, to make it, and now it's a travel blog.
And that's the thing that's the thing that I wanted to talk about. There's kind of a 3-pronged approach really with what you do. You got your website, You got, which is basically a destinations travel kind of tourism thing for Oregon. And it serves such a great purpose because I look at it pretty frequently and follow you on the second part of it is the social media, which is where you probably draw the people to your website. But oh man, I mean, you've done such a beautiful way of creating this community, but you keep it kind of contained. A lot of times with social media, politics, for example, are an issue. And one thing that anybody will notice when they go to That Oregon Life is that you're pretty clear about the rules. Like we want to share photos of the beauty of Oregon.
Exactly.
You know?
There's a place for politics. Hey, we've all got our opinions. It's just my place, my business, my community. As you say, That Oregon Life is not really a place for that. We're talking about Oregon and how much we love our state. And by the way, thank you so much. Your words, and how much it's meant to you to follow it and look for places, things to do. It means more to me than you know. And so many people have told me that same thing. And I never imagined when I started. I mean, I knew back then. I even remember calling my mom, like, Mom, this is going to blow up. I think it's going to be bigger than myself even. I knew it was going to be big, just seeing how quickly it caught on, right? But I never imagined it would be as big as it is all I'm saying. And people from every walk of life, when they whether it's an email or come across me in person, they say pretty much the exact same thing you do, dude. You're like my go-to for things to do.
Yeah, it's kind of the trendsetter or the placeholder, or whatnot for locally made multimedia kind of things. You've done a great job with it. One of the things that's really a treat for me to have you as a guest on the Spent the Rent podcast today is that there's not a lot of opportunity because, like you just said, you yourself aren't the product of That Oregon Life. It's the state of Oregon. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the third part of your product line, of your business model, is the clothing line, which is huge. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is why it's really cool to get to hear your take on it and then your personal kind of, spin and how you are, the human being behind the scenes, but that's the beauty of it.
And I think that sometimes it's really easy for us to disconnect from websites and we look at it like this is just this website. Well, there is, there's a human there, believe it or not,
right.
Very real human being. And, I've even to add to what you were saying, talking about places to go, I've inspired myself even. We grew up, you and I, Pat, we grew up in Oregon. A lot of these places I didn't even know existed growing up. And I think that, the timing was right with That Oregon Life too. Hiking started to become more trendy as it kind of just, everything just kind of blew up with social media, and hiking was suddenly more popular. But all I'm saying is, there's so many great places in Oregon that I didn't even know existed. And it wasn't
I'm sure
researching and sharing this with people that followed That Oregon Life. It's incredible. We live in an incredible state. And
then, for what I do, reaching out to people to have as guests, a lot of times I find them on Facebook because I'm a fan essentially, know, and so it's like the social media presence becomes your actual life, and it's really cool. And, we had talked already about you not being the product, about Oregon being the product. Even though with my podcast, I'm on every episode, obviously, because it's an interview-based show. The last thing I want is for it to be about me. My product is my guests and the community as it grows. And it's really cool because I've watched people from early on, and you've seen it. You were the second guest. So I've watched people build this community where there's people that have met through my podcast. And it's an amazing feeling.
Cool.
It's so cool.
I relate. I've seen that. As you can imagine, I've seen that happen more than once. People that we've got the group too. It's not just the page and it's a community, but totally. I feel you, man.
So anybody listening, make sure that you go follow That Oregon Life on Facebook. Now there's a Facebook page and a group, correct?
Yeah, there is a group, and sometimes people that, aren't living on Facebook like I am for the last however many years, it's hard for them to distinguish. There is a thing called a page, which Facebook rolled out at some point, which represents your business or, even a nonprofit or whatever. And then you've got Facebook groups, and those groups are based around, hobbies, whatever it is that you love, and or like That Oregon Life. I try to keep keep politics and nonsense out of there. And, people are just sharing places, adventures, beautiful photos of Oregon, etc. So there is a group. If you typed in That Oregon Life on the Facebook search, you're going to find the page and the group. We're also on Instagram, of course. I try to keep our Instagram as active as possible. And then our email newsletter, of course, which I frequently advertise on the page. So you can get regular emails from us every Wednesday and Saturday, which include all the best parts about Oregon. And, we do touch on some news things like the coronavirus and stuff that's happening right now in Oregon. But yeah.
And, we're going to talk about that kind of later in the show too. And I'll remember to bring it up. It's in my notes about how you mentioned news and how sometimes you take a funny spin on it, because this isn't a journalism page, much like my podcast is not a journalism page. It's an arts and entertainment event. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty fun. Let's talk about your clothing line, because I think that's the thing that you're the most known for at this point. I think it's hard to gauge. Well, I don't know. I'm actually correcting myself even in my sentence here, because I think that the three different things have such different reach.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So one of the things, your clothing line, but also your window decals. So like on the back of cars.
That was the first product I made. Yeah.
They're super popular. I see them all over town. You drive around and it's a Dutch Bros sticker and a That Oregon Life window decal. Right. But the clothing line, you're wearing one of your shirts right now.
It's funny. This is, I have, of course, it's my brand. So of course, at any given time, I have everything that I've made at my fingertips. So I'm always sporting like the same old t-shirt from like a year or two ago. I live, of course, in my gear. And yes, this is actually one of my favorite logos right here from the Three Sisters. It was one of the first hoodies that really popped off, hoodies and shirts or whatever. Yep. And so that was as a result. So like, let's rewind here. The decals, like you mentioned, people were asking, saying, hey, you should make stickers, you should make hoodies. People were throwing these ideas at me, and I thought, well, naturally, of course, I probably should, right? I mean, you want to support what I do? Let's get into it. So at the time, though, I wasn't as resourceful. I didn't know as many people. I didn't know anything about screen printing. I didn't know the first thing about it. It wasn't really. Well, let's just use Portland Gear for an example. That guy's done extremely well, obviously. Are you familiar with Portland Gear?
I don't think I am, but anyway, okay, so I can imagine what it is.
Yeah, it's huge in Portland. It's like Nike of Portland, right? I mean, he's done very well. It's like, I think he's even partnered with the Blazers recently.
Now that you say that, I think they actually have done a crossover. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's got his gear's dope, man.
It's kind of minimalist.
Yeah, very simple and sporty. He's really lined himself up well. Much respect for him. So interesting story. He started Portland Gear around the same time I started That Oregon Life. But I didn't set out like him to start a clothing brand. It was, I was just writing funny stuff, writing humorous stuff, places, what That Oregon Life is today.
Yeah.
And, so it wasn't until a while, I was deep in about 2015 or so was probably, those the decals. And I had a cool kid over in Albany making those for me. He had a little sticker business, and I started experimenting with Facebook videos, because at the time Facebook had rolled video out or whatever. And I was like, hey guys, check it out. You want to support That Oregon Life, show your love for Oregon. I got these badass new decals. And that was what you're talking, that you see everywhere now. So that was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome to see how successful that was. And as you can imagine, an amazing feeling of, how far I'd come at that point. Like, wow, everyone's really, this is something. And so then logically the next move was, let's make a t-shirt. And that, it takes a lot of money. And I didn't have a lot of money at the time. And it was very difficult. If you talk to anybody in the t-shirt business or branding period, it's not an easy thing. And so it didn't really, it was kind of bumpy at first. And then I was able to connect with some other people eventually. And we really just blew it up, man. We started doing t-shirts, hoodies. I started connecting to other people that were good at what they do. It went from there, man. And then I started calling stores, just doing I talk to people. That's what I do anyways. That's what I always did in, my jobs before. So it was very easy for me to just get on the phone with people like Made in Oregon. Love them. Awesome company. I think they might've been, if not the first store that picked us up, one of the first stores, and to this day we're still Made in Oregon, which is
awesome.
Thank you. I mean, it was a huge milestone for me, because that's a store. It's like the classic, Sure. It's been around forever. We all knew it as kids, so it was really cool. And to see my brand now in the store, of course, great company, great people, just showing that Oregon love, man. And then I met my buddy Jerome, Scout Northwest, who I'm partnered with to this day. In fact, he lives over here on the coast where I'm at now, and he's got one of my one of my brands among, of course, right next to his, Scout Northwest. Awesome brand, by the way. Got to check him out. He's kind of like all over the state now too. People, recognize Scout right there in the outlet mall in Lincoln City. So when I talked to him, it was one of those calls. That's how it started. Like, hey, bro, like I got this, that Oregon Life, and he was like, wait a minute. And he took another look. He'd never seen. I mean, I'm not your typical T-shirt guy, right? I've got what are we at? Like over 500,000 followers on Facebook. It's much more than just a brand.
Yeah, which I think is good because anytime you watch Shark Tank, they're like they'll if they have a T-shirt brands, they're like right. What are you gonna do? Because there's so much competition. I mean, everybody's got
T-shirts. Saturated, bro.
I do T-shirts for the podcast, but I'm not. So, okay. I want to say this with what you do is amazing because it's all locally made. All the T-shirts, in order to get into a made in Oregon store, they have to be made in Oregon.
Yeah.
So they're all locally made. Now, I do have T-shirts available for the podcast, but for me, it's more of a promotional tool. And I just have third-party sellers, so I don't even have to deal with the inventory. That's not what I'm about, is not doing the clothing line.
Yep, I've looked into those too. Yeah.
And I mean, they're fine. I think that there's some cool – I use Teespring, for example.
Yeah, dude, I mess with Teespring. Those are great for what,
I think they're great for what it is because at least –
do.
Right. And I get 50%, and they print it and ship it out, and I don't even have to mess with it.
There you go. Yep, it's so
the work is already done. Now, for something that you're doing, I think the genuine – made in Oregon ethos is incredible because the shirts, I've worn them, they're comfortable, you get quality stuff, so it's premium, it's
That's
a little higher end.
To me. I'm not trying to sell people cheap crap that
and sell yourself short and your brand short. It's a premium, it's a premium thing, so that's really cool. So
the biggest I don't mean to cut you off, I wanted to add too, not just stores, the most fun when it comes to the T-shirts, the hoodies, the hats, the decals, everything that we've created. The most fun I've had with it is like the Oregon Jamboree, which we just had an incredible time. I am just praying right now that we can still do the Oregon Jamboree this year. I don't know what the word is yet with coronavirus.
Yeah, that's this is a good segue because that's what I was going to talk about next was the shutdown of parks and events. Because one of the major things you do is
I love doing the events. We just did the Newport Seafood and Wine recently, Oregon Jamboree. We do the what was it? We did the Portland Seafood and Wine Festival. We've done even the Saturday market. We did the holiday market there in Eugene. I love it, Pat, because it gives me a chance to meet with fans and then introduce that Oregon Life to people who've never even heard of us. There's a lot of people that aren't even online, but any walk of life, any age, we can, so that's what's great. That's been the funnest part about the gear is we get to connect with fans and followers.
Sure. Yeah. So at those events, you'll have a little booth, basically set up and tent and everything. It's really nice with good graphics. And we've done some shows together, actually. We did a show, benefit concert with Ender One. That was
I remember that. I love him. And
that was
connect with him. If you're listening, Ender One, I want to talk to you soon. He
reached out. Guy.
I was super busy, and he'd reached out because he wanted to do some collaborating. And I hope he understands I wasn't trying to blow him all the time. I just was slammed.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
I love his work.
He's killing it. Yeah, we did a benefit concert back in the day for Houston for the what was it? They had like a flood or a hurricane or whatever, And so, oh God, that was a while ago. There's so much stuff going on since. Anyway, so we had mentioned events closing. When is the Oregon Jamboree typically?
July.
Okay, so that's going to be in question. I know that last night, I haven't watched the video yet to get the confirmation, but last night there was an online meeting for the country fair.
Okay.
Outside of Eugene. And this is a huge deal because last year I think was the 50th year that they had done it. And it looks like it's in limbo. I haven't heard the confirmation. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and for somebody like you, what are you doing to adjust? Because a lot of your things are event based. I mean, are you just kind of going to hit the online presence as hard as you can? And
yeah, I mean, I'm in a unique position as a lot of media companies are to where we're feeling the wrath, but maybe, I'm it's still tough. Obviously, I'm partnered with a lot of companies such as Meredith Lodging as a travel blogger, if that's what you want to call it. I go and I make some videos. I'm very blessed in the sense I get to stay at these incredible rentals that they offer all over the state, like Meredith, for example, Sunset Lodging in Sun River. Salishan is another client of ours. And so, yeah, normally that's what I do. I'm out there making videos. We're out, hanging out with my fam, enjoying ourselves at these places, promoting them and supporting local economy. Obviously that's a big thing for That Oregon Life, supporting local business. That's,
No,
and that's,
what is
so
Salishan? Because I want to give you a fun little side note. When I was a little child,
the resort over here in the coast.
when I was a little boy, I
Mhm.
grew up in Salem, Oregon, and I lived on Salishan Street.
You grew up in Salem?
I did.
I was born in Salem. I lived there till I was about 4 or 5.
I moved to Springfield when I was 11. I think now, I don't know if this
I
is
moved
a
to
secret.
Springfield when I was about 5. How
Yeah,
funny.
and I think we both are Springfield High graduate. Or no, I
I went to
graduated.
Thurston. I went to
Oh,
Thurston.
I actually, it's funny, neither of us are Springfield High graduates. I graduated from South. I just remembered.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That was 20 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I went to Thurston. I was actually going there when the shooting happened.
Oh,
Obviously,
wow.
that was crazy. May
Yeah.
21st, 98. Forever.
Yeah.
Time.
I'll never forget that day. It was our 9/11. There's no question.
Yeah, that was wow.
So, one of the things that you talk about on the website is news, and you put your own twist on it.
Mhm.
Now, there's also, we have talked about the destinations and the tourism type stuff, but every once in a while, you'll spotlight on kind of funny news. And you had said you wanted to talk about this just random news story that happened in this last few days. And
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Did you hear about that U-Haul?
So there's the firework incident. I'm not super versed on it, so why don't you tell us what happened?
Let me pull it up again because it's been a couple days. So a guy
was.
It's like, it's funny, but it's not. I try. Okay, so the U-Haul, which happens to be the same U-Haul that I just stopped at like 3 weeks ago, where I got a U-Haul to move to the coast, right there on River Road in Eugene. So this guy, he was setting off firecrackers so unbeknownst to this guy, some random dude setting off firecrackers in the parking lot at U-Haul. Don't ask why. Who knows people these days? Let's just read it from the source here, right? Register guard. A Eugene man charged with reckless burning and criminal mischief after throwing a lit firework at a person in a Eugene U-Haul parking lot. He was 28, Dylan Hanna. So apparently there was somebody siphoning gas, like stealing gas.
Unrelated.
Yeah, completely unrelated.
And he lit him on fire.
Yeah, bro. Like, oh my God, man. Like, how
what are the odds? And so
I'm trying not. I'm not. I
know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Like,
and
get lit on fire. That's bad, but if karma could like get you in any way like that, man.
So sometimes on That Oregon Life, you will spotlight news stories like this, correct?
Sometimes. And I haven't, for the record, not on this one yet. I thought about blogging about it. It's funny, right?
Yeah, and that's actually what kind of took your online presence off the ground. I mean, you had done a post.
Yes.
And this is so, I mean, it was because originally That Oregon Life was a satire.
Well, mixed bag here. Some satirical pieces, which forced me to ask myself, am I going to be Oregon's little onion, as people call it?
That's a good way to put it.
Right. I probably, at the time, I wasn't even intentionally writing satire. It was just my crazy imagination. Like this pregnant girl strip club was opening in Springfield. All these blogs picked it up. They thought it was real.
Not just blogs. The Oregonian picked it up.
Oh yeah. There was.
Yeah. So you had a story. Let's get into that a tiny bit. So you wrote a satirical story about, and there's a picture of a girl dressed in a risque clothing, but she's pregnant, and you wrote this fake story, #fake news, about a strip club in Springfield that had pregnant strippers.
Right. And if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to be Springfield, right?
And this is how much I have to give you credit, because some people might not like this when they hear this, but here's the reality. This is how much you've evolved because this is where it started, you know what I mean? And you were just having fun. And then now it's evolved into something much bigger.
Right.
Because that story took off and it got picked up by the Oregonian. It got picked up by major media. And
yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. It's not like I was trying to deceive somebody or to put out misinformation. In my head, it's like, this is hilarious. How funny is this? That's all I thought. And, it quickly registered with me. People, I don't even realize that people are going to take this as truth, because you look at my website, it looks no different than any other website. It's very professionally done. And, we put a lot of work into making sure we've got a clean, nice website. So at the time, I'm learning too with everybody. Like, this is like you could potentially put out some bad stuff, as we're learning now in the new era. This is all unraveling, you know, every day it's a new challenge to stop the spread of misinformation. So for the record, that's not my intention. I didn't think anybody would ever believe anything like that. I just was
It
being
was so
funny,
outlandish. Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah,
if
right.
people aren't familiar with the Onion, when you said that you don't want to be Oregon's Onion,
That's
the
what people
Onion
are calling it too. Oregon's Onion. I was like,
it's
I got a
so
laugh
good.
out of
The
that.
Onion is a satirical news outlet that they make
Which is
up
great. I
completely
love
just
them.
outlandish stories, and
They're so funny.
sometimes they're so outlandish, but then sometimes they seem believable.
That's the thing now. Real news. I look at news headlines today. I'm like, is this satire?
It's so sensationalized.
Yeah.
My favorite Onion news story ever was a sports story, and it just had a picture of a random a random guy in a press conference, and it says Atlanta Hawks guard blames God for loss. I just thought it was so good. And
Oh, they're great.
it's not just headlines; they write the whole story. You know, they're
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
they put in work, man. It's good. And
Yeah.
yeah,
The Onion.
so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So yeah, it was kind of a mix. At the beginning, it was like I didn't intend to make a satirical site. I was just messing around, man, and entertainment, I guess, right? And so yeah, as a result of that, we created some other funny pieces. And in fact, I'd almost prefer that just we got it, because I did at some point make a conscious effort and decided that, you know, this is much. I want this to be much bigger, and it wasn't really the road I want to stay on. I want to go into different angles. I love Oregon. I didn't start this to like misinform people like, you know.
And I don't want to be misleading with it. It's really
Right.
just how it evolved, because like
Right.
when you had started this, you couldn't have imagined it would have taken off the way that
No.
it has.
Right. And I mean, my website was literally crashing. If we were just talking about that one story, that's when I realized it was kind of that pivotal moment. Like, wow, my server at the time couldn't even handle it. My website would not even stay up because there were so many people. It had gone so viral at that time. This is back before Facebook kind of changed their algorithms and tweaked them. And you had the potential. I mean, it was crazy how many people you would reach on a regular basis back then. And so that was one of many articles to come that just went insanely viral. And yeah,
The Eclipse one is the one that, oh my gosh, it shut down the internet.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, you had posted a picture of the eclipse, and it blew up.
oh, that was so crazy. Yeah.
Do you remember? So let me ask this real quick. Do you remember the week of the eclipse, how much your reach was on Facebook? It was in the millions, 50 million.
Well, it's funny you say that. I think it by far exceeded, because it's just a kind of get you up to speed. Like right now, we reach millions on a weekly basis, but it exceeded like even past that, like hundreds of millions. I wish I remembered, man. It's been a while, but it was beyond anything I'd ever seen. And I think that alone got us like 100,000 new followers.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was to this day, probably the eclipse really kind of really helped push that Oregon life.
Put you on the map. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And it was already at like an ungodly following, but at that point, man, it really just, wow, it was like it was on steroids, man. And
yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that was really interesting, and gosh, it's so much different today
in life,
yeah,
right? It's like I feel so much gratitude and feel very lucky to have been alive during the eclipse, because I mean, you know, that was just incredible, man.
Well, and it was, I mean, just as a human being, as a normal person, I was doing nothing to promote anything at that point, but just the experience. I was in Eugene at work, and so we weren't in totality or whatever it was, but man, it was incredible. It was such an eerie moment when the birds started chirping again, like it was morning again and stuff. It was something that I'm glad I lived in Oregon during that time. I'm glad I live in Oregon every day. Right now, you wouldn't know it because I haven't been outside in 3 weeks, so I look clear. I'm as pale as you can possibly get. I haven't been outside at all.
You look healthy though. You
No,
did 3 weeks. Wow. Let's talk about
I'm kidding. That. I went shopping yesterday. I mean,
I was just saying that's some discipline there, brother.
No,
I'm gonna go get some food.
I have to admit, I finally threw on a mask. We went shopping yesterday, and I wore a mask because it's one of those things that you do it to protect others. Oregon has been really good about this, about the coronavirus shutdown. Is that
that's what I've been reading.
We've been taking it serious. I think it's a really good sign, and we're not getting political by saying this. Even the Trump administration has given her praise. But Kate Brown,
I didn't even know that. That's
Kate Brown sent ventilators to New York, right?
I saw that.
And that's a really good moment. Let's just rephrase it. Oregon has sent ventilators to New York because that's us doing this, right? But us taking these things by staying in, by doing the shutdown we've done in Oregon, has, as much as it's hurt everybody, us included.
Yeah.
It's really allowed us to help other people because we're flattening that curve. So we're doing, everybody out there, I want everybody to, you know, we're in this together. We're doing it. It's helping. It's actually working. So it just seems like such weird times.
Oh, dude, it's beyond what I could have ever imagined. I don't think any of us would have thought we'd be living through something like this. This is.
I'm super grateful to have these Zoom opportunities, you know, to chat with you. And I know that you're gonna start doing more and more of these. Is that correct?
Yes.
That Oregon Life is gonna, you know, be doing more video, and I think that's awesome because there's a lot. You've got a very wide reach, and I'll help any way I can.
I appreciate that. I think that we should collaborate more. I've and I don't know how much you've seen, but I've done some really great videos like Clearwater Restaurant, which, by the way, amazing place to eat if you ever get a chance. Ocean View, right there in Newport. The owner, she is just absolutely wonderful. We did a incredible video for them. So yes, I've been getting a lot more into video as video is kind of the future now of social media and gets a lot of priority. I've realized that for a while, and I'm getting more comfortable, like, you know, like for right now being.
Yeah, me too. It's hard. You know, the live feed stuff is something that I know reaches a lot of people, or at least what I think the live feed does is if it reaches a small audience, it creates a dedicated audience is what happens. And I think that's really cool.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Man, it's something, like you said, you got to kind of get comfortable doing it. It's funny because
easy, yeah. If you're like, go ahead.
I'm a very social person, but really doing the live feeds, if I'm looking at myself, I'm like, ugh, you know,
it's awkward, especially if you're not used to it. I'm still learning and still becoming more comfortable with it as the more I do it. And I am pretty comfortable with who I am. And like you, I'm very social too. But it's a different beast when you talk about you putting yourself out there and getting in front of millions of people. And I like, you know, I like personal challenges anyway. So I'm looking at it as a personal challenge to help grow myself and my company and connect with awesome people like you. It's important. And I love what you're doing, by the way. It's so awesome.
Well, thank you.
I'm in your corner, bro.
So we're going to have this on different outlets. So if this gets shared and by That Oregon Life, this is the Spent the Rant podcast. And so STRPOD, my official website is STRPOD.com, and you can find all of my episodes. This is episode number 69. so yeah. So it's funny because you were my second guest, and now we've gotten to 69. So it takes two to tango. But anyway, one of the things that I wanted to mention too is that if you're listening to this, I have been doing video now, and so you can find the video. It's called the web series is STRPOD on either YouTube or Facebook. So you can, if you're listening to this video, you can search out and find the web series on YouTube and Facebook, STRPOD, for the Spent the Rent podcast. So yeah, audio and video now, and I'm going to try to do that for the most part for every episode. It works easier when I do it remotely. So when we go back to doing face-to-face interviews, I'll have to see how that plays out.
Sure. Are you uploading on YouTube too?
I am uploading on YouTube, yeah. And I try to get the turnaround is pretty quick. We do really simple editing because I just kind of like to release them as is. You know, we're pretty straightforward with it. The videos are pretty minimal, you know, and that's because the content is our conversation, you know. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tyler, this is really cool, man. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Of course, man.
ThatOregonLife.com. Yeah, man. It's my pleasure. ThatOregonLife.com, That Oregon Life on Facebook and Instagram and all that. The links will be in the show notes, as always.
We even have a YouTube channel now where I've been uploading some videos. I haven't really worked as much on YouTube. Most of our following's obviously on Facebook.
Right.
But yeah, just don't know.
I don't do a ton with YouTube either. Facebook is kind of my main go-to for right now. And I've noticed Facebook since Facebook owns Instagram, they're starting to kind of cross it so that you can start to upload full-length episodes as well on IGTV. So I'm working on that, is getting the podcast videos on IGTV.
On that note, I just read recently, Instagram is rolling out their version of TikTok. So since we're talking about TikTok, let's you know, let people know if you're getting into social media, TikTok's where it's at, man. They have the most organic reach. I have a friend, Jake, over here on the coast. He's in Newport. I think he's got like 5 million followers or something now on TikTok. Kid's blowing up, bro. Like, he's done well for himself. He's been kind of dabbling in all kinds of stuff like photography. And I think he had something kind of similar to what I do. It's out in Oregon. And yeah.
Can you download TikTok if you're over 18? I'm just kidding.
Right. I know. That's what, like, for me, it's really hard. I started a TikTok, but like, you kind of have to change your mind frame to, you're making like 20-second clips. That's not
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And my girlfriend is a data analyst, and so she loves data.
I didn't know that.
World,
That's awesome.
in the world of data. So whenever people say like, "Oh, I don't like that they know too much about you," and she's like, "I love it." So but cool. Tyler, this is really cool. I want to thank you for doing this. I'm going to end this with a song. Let's give a shout out to Alejandro England, aka SlyGuy, from the hip hop crew OcwardStorms. And he has been with you with That Oregon Life since the beginning, working together on different
brother,
capacities.
man.
Yeah. So I know that you guys are buddies, and him and I are really close friends from back in the day. Yeah. Family.
Love Paul's music too.
So we're gonna end it with a song called "Time Machine" by SlyGuy from OcwardStorms. Tyler, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to talk again soon, man.
Awesome. Take care.
Yep. You stay safe and have a great day.
That beauty still exists in a beautiful mind within a beautiful fortress. You remind me to stay focused on my dreams, live life to the fullest, stay honest and true to me. I can't help but get lost in those eyes, those pretty brown planets makes me so hypnotized. It just make me wanna sing, and that's alright with me. I wanna be together, always makes you smile, the one that's always on your mind. Gotta walk 500 miles for you, but you won't have me. So I guess it's probably best that I stop chasing you. It's like I met you in a different life. Won't be complete without you by my side. This path I accept, and soon you'll be gone. I love you to death, that's why I made you this song. If you just stimulated another creation, you make me wanna take you on a permanent vacation. One day I will, till then chill. I got a plan on my sleeve to make this fantasy real. I know that it's real when I look in your eyes. You don't need a lie, you know I'm always on your side. Take a load off, baby, I'ma lie you on your side. She's a slippery fish that so many try to be with. Sparkly eyes, soft, very sweet lips. You're welcome for the compliment. It's not as though you need this. You hear it all the time, so I don't know if it still pleases. A lover of the moment, I promise that I see this. Don't get caught up in the vines, and you can find yourself bewitched. But not a little body ready to get down and party. It's the middle of the night, and you're ready, willing, and wanting. You're filling your mouth with Molly, and staying up to the dawning, and turning a normal night into a night you like to copy. But now I'm feeling the moment, I don't like to pretend. If I had it my way, you know that I would never end. Grab a hold of my hand, baby, you override my system. Pull me to the side before I find my next victim. You infiltrated my thoughts, redecorated my mind. I'm just gonna be the one you thought you'd never find.